Welcome everyone to the September meeting of the Melbourne EV Group. On those, we've got four groups presenting there tonight on some of their innovative ideas on electric vehicles. And we'll start off with some EV news. Just a bit of news of what's been happening around the place. Tesla have started setting up their supercharge network throughout the east coast of Australia. As you can see, there's two in Melbourne. We've got one here. This one is Albury. Does anyone know where that one is? Oh. This one's Goulburn, and then up through there, up in Sydney. So they've started setting up the supercharger network. I went to Sydney last month to pick up a car that I'm repairing, and we stopped at Goulburn. And so when we got at Goulburn, we saw that the supercharger network that they're starting to put it in there at Goulburn. So we've got 4 of the superchargers, and then they'll have the bays there as well. So it's all underway. And I think there's 4 or 6 cars at the Goulburn Visitor Centre. Just to let people know that I've built a conversion box that can be used for charging old level 1 type cars, you know, that have the standard plug on those from a J1772 from a level 2 charging station on those. So here I'm charging the Vectrix on theirs using the conversion box on those, just the adapter for it there, and it's charging at 10 amps, charging my scooter. I'm having around the garages on those, which we haven't done for over a year on those. So this is the Ford Capri car that I picked up, and that from Sydney. It was converted in 2008. It's got a standard DC net gain 9-inch motor, the typical older style of conversions that were done, and with Thunder Sky LAFPO4 batteries. So the car went for 4 or 5 years on those. Batteries eventually faded out and failed, and it'll need a battery replacement. So I've had a look at the battery design on it, and that's in it, and I'm going to replace it with Panasonic. It'll be a 160 ampere hour pack instead of the original 90, and it actually fits under the rear seat and that in the car. So the cells that we'll be using in this car, the Panasonic cells, they're the same cells and configuration that was used in the Tesla Roadster. So it's a well-known cell on that to use for EVs. And then the car will also need a few body repairs as well. It's got a bit of rust just here in the door sills on those. That'll have to be fixed for roadworthy on those, but a little bit of work in that needs doing as well. So people will be welcome to come on Saturday the 10th of October on those. If you want to see me afterwards, after the meeting, I can give you the address of where it'd be on those. But yeah, we're going to have a day there where we're going to work on the car, pull the old batteries out, the old Thunder Sky batteries out, and start to configure the new battery pack. And there's a little bit of other mechanical work and that can be done. The battery cells are being constructed at the moment, but it'll take 4, 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks to construct the battery cells, because it's quite a bit of work in that, and configuring and constructing the battery out of these 18650 cells. And we'll have a barbecue lunch there, so we can have a bit of social time, a bit of a catch up, chat around and that after we've been looking at and working on the car. And then also coming up, our group's been asked to go to the Festival of Cars, which is at Cruden's Farm down in Langwarrin, a well-known place, 22nd of November. So anyone has a vehicle that are interested in bringing down, we'll have charging there. We'll have the Club Assist portable charging generator there that can charge 2 cars at level 2. And there's also 3-phase power, and there's so 3-phase power available at the farm as well. So level 1 cars, and that could be charged, could be plugged in and charged there. And so we'll also be able to charge some level 2 cars. So if you do bring a car down, we'll be able to charge it. So I'll be coordinating that. So if you want to bring a car down and want to reserve some charging, let me know. Otherwise, members and that and others people are welcome to come down and have a look. And those will be displaying their electric vehicles, as well as all the other things that are there at the day. And that's all the news and that for the moment. So I'll pass over to Clint now, who's organised tonight. Thank you very much for what you've done in organising it. And this is Clint.
Thanks. So I guess most people here know what the go is with tonight. It's a bit of a change from what we've done in the past. In the past, we've looked at EV conversions, we've looked at electric vehicle technologies, we've looked at government policy and infrastructure and things like that. To round things out, pardon me, the plan tonight was to actually look at the commercial side and the entrepreneurial side. I'm hoping, and I can see from some faces here, we've actually got a mix of technical expertise and commercial expertise. Some people are more one than the other, and some people I know are actually a bit of both. So the purpose of tonight is for us to share information with people who are actually having a go at taking some kind of an electric vehicle and commercializing it. It's your chance to ask questions, give advice, find out what, and also just to find out what's actually going on so that we've got a much more rigorous network in the EV space in Melbourne. Just so you know, and that this was pointed out, the reason for the microphone is because we are actually being broadcast at the moment. So if you do have any questions afterwards, the microphone will go to you first. We'll ask a question, we'll come to whoever the speaker is. What we're going to do first is we're going to let each speaker actually say their spiel. They've got so 5 to 7 minutes each. And then we'll ask questions at the end for a brief period. And then what we'll do is after that, we'll you'll probably be individuals you'd want to speak to in more in depth, and we'll have, we'll go to the tea room afterwards and you can speak to them in more detail then. I'm not presenting them in any particular order, probably just the order that I'll mention in the Facebook event. So we're actually going to start off with Barry Nguyen from EVX. Oh yeah, round of applause, thank you. Whereabouts are these files on here, Adrian? Ah, very good. Yep.
Okay, so Clint's advised that we can only spend between 5 to 7 minutes on this. This is actually the full pitch deck we often send to people who want a bit more detail about EVX. So I'm Barry. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of EVX. It used to be called SolarX, but we had a few issues with the name and how it also resembles other established companies in the space. EVX is a pre-revenue startup in collaboration with Swinburne University R&D in the EV R&D space. We're currently attempting to commercialize a solar sports car that's road legal. The focus is around its endurance. So we're in fact paving a new way for a new category of car, which is more focused on endurance based on our inspiration and application of technologies from the World Solar Challenge. So we've actually claimed that it is the world's first bespoke or custom high-performance passenger sports car powered by the sun, called the Immortus. You might have seen that around in some media. We've probably got over about 1,000 articles on the internet in various languages at the moment, including Forbes. So just quickly, the specifications around the car, it goes to 0 to 100 approximately less than 7 seconds. The top speed's over 150 kilometers per hour. That's a combined solar and battery range of 550 kilometers at an average speed of 85 kilometers per hour. It will weigh between 500 to 700 kilograms. It's only about 40 kilowatts peak output, but it's a lot lighter than a mass-produced car, and it has a 10 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery, which is about 1/9 of a Tesla Model S's battery at the moment. Has a very, very low drag coefficient, and it basically seats 2 people. That's essentially the design of the car, quite close to the actual one once we raise money to commercialize. So the technologies is probably where you guys are mostly interested in. So essentially, as a result of the challenges producing this car, we've innovated in the battery box. It's actually lightweight and double the life of the common one. So for example, I always reference to Tesla, but we're not trying to be a Tesla. They're a liquid cooled battery box. We are an air cooled to actually minimize the weight, which creates different challenges. The other challenge we've innovated in is creating lightweight and durable solar panels that fit in the car that will be road legal. Also, we have regenerative shock absorbers, which helps capture the energy from the road and the bumps, which can actually recharge the car in a smaller amount. And the most important one, which we've recently progressed in, is the hub. It's actually not a hub now. It's actually an upright motor that actually clips onto the rim. And the way we've developed it is so we can create a system around making petrol cars easily converted to EV or hybrid. So just quickly around because it's more of a commercial spill, the market opportunity in the car industry is $9 trillion. The custom car industry is around 33 billion. There's a lot of derivative technologies in what we're doing here. There's also a significant amount of advanced manufacturing opportunities and collaborations, particularly in Geelong at the moment, given the demise of the auto industry here. There's also cross-industry opportunities, as you can see with some of the technologies. And a hot space at the moment is the digital technology applications too. You might have seen everywhere, people are, the buzzword is the self-driving car, which is supposedly going to be real in 2 to 3 years. And the connected car, which is essentially having the car as an internet platform based on the Internet of Things, which are devices connected to a cloud and collecting data. At the recent Frankfurt Motor Show, International Motor Show, the CEO of GM Motors actually said over the next 5 to 10 years, there'll be the most change and disruption in the industry ever. And you can start to see that now with Tesla. And also helping that is the issues with Volkswagen and their software, which is really good for us and people who believe in EVs in the future. So the timing's quite right for this to happen because petrol cars will be more expensive due to increase in regulations and things like that, which again aids the type of stuff we're doing. So the business model quickly. So we don't intend to be a manufacturer of this. Our model is based on the independent individual constructed vehicles model. What essentially that means is we can actually manufacture low volume of these cars, particularly in Australia and the US. And we essentially contract a custom car builder to assemble the components we put together. We'll make some money from it, which we forecast. We don't plan to sell a lot worldwide, but in particular, we've had serious interest from the US, particularly California and the Middle East, in terms of our product, where often there's more money than sense. So you're not talking about the common high net worth individuals, you're talking about the ultra high net worth individuals who are early adopters. And they've spent about $40 billion per year on luxury automotive. So if you're looking at selling 100, that's about 0.01% of the market or something like that. You can do the calculations there. But where we plan to make the money is through the car being a technology platform. So from Clint and from Tesla's experience as well, you have to build an electric car from ground up. And that's a very cost-effective R&D platform to actually produce spin-off technologies from it. And the revenue streams, as I spoke about, are those 3 different technologies, including the motor mounting, the regen shocks, and solar cell mounting on panels. So essentially, we have a very diverse and strong team. I'd say we're probably one of the strongest teams in Australia to do this. We've got Clint, who's considered as a national EV expert. We've got me, who's a bit of a hustler. And we've got Nadasha, who's an IP expert, which essentially is the key to this whole venture. We've got Andres, who used to be the chairman of the Aurora Solar racing team. And he brings a lot of experience as an automotive engineer, as well as building solar races that are award-winning. We've got a lawyer from Silicon Valley who brings companies here to the US, who's on our board. We have Earl Harper, who's backdoor listed and IPO'd companies. We also have Joven, have you guys heard of Martin Jetpacks? No? So Jetpack. So essentially it's I think it's a crazier idea than ours, personally. So essentially it's a jetpack, like the Jetsons, allows, individuals to fly around in the sky. Essentially they raised $33 million for that and IPO'd the company on the stock exchange. So we've got the actual corporate finance people behind that helping us out too. And we've got Ray Keefe, who's amazing in the area of electronics manufacturing in Australia, and he works for a lot of venture-funded startups in the US as well. Some of his team works directly with Steve, previously the former Steve Jobs and Bill Gates as well. Current status, we started about 3 years ago. Started off more as like an idea and a uni project, but now we're going to SEMA, which is a custom car show in the US in November. We've got some team members here actually who's going to build a scaled down remote control model, which can also be commercialized. And that's one of our early ways or cheaper ways to actually showcase some of the technologies there. We're also prototyping. We're going to also show prototype models of some of the things we're showcasing, including the regen shock absorbers and the upright, which is the wheel mount, motor mounts. That's got a lot of media attention at the moment, to the point where we actually successfully almost finalized a partnership with a private fleet company in Australia to test and distribute the hybrid retrofit technology from the actual upright technology that we're developing on the Hyundai i30, Toyota Corolla, and Yaris. So that's a pretty big thing for us, because that's probably going to involve like a PhD project, some grants, and potential private capital raisings if we push that over the line. And we're also finalizing a partnership with Ray Keefe around building a device in the car that has advanced self-learning capabilities, which at the moment, the application is more around strategic trip planning and working out where, using meteorological data and topographical data to actually help the driver experience or enhance it. As I said, I'm quite surprised about this, because I mean, a lot of people might argue that, a lot of people complain that other startups don't actually get as much exposure because we don't have a full working scale prototype at the moment. But we actually, for some reason, given probably our angle, given that we've got potential infinite range of the car, which actually takes us into another class outside the Tesla and the rest of it, onto international media, including Forbes, BBC, Gizmag, which we're going to write another article for soon on the hybrid retrofit kit, Fast Company version. We've also had Chris Brown, who's a musician overseas, he post about us, and Floyd Mayweather, which is that picture there, saying that he really likes the idea of the car as well. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about ultra high net worth individuals with more money than sense. And we want to look radically different. We also got into something a bit more cultural, which is I fucking love science. You guys might have heard of that. Yep. The ultimate vision of EVX is not to be a manufacturer at this stage anyway, but it is to make the self-sufficient car the future of transportation, which we believe is possible through R&D and commercialization of range extension technologies, which is what we are seen in to specialize in. Yeah, that's the whole spiel for now. You guys can ask me questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. What we'll do is we'll save all the questions for like a panel at the end, and then we might move over elsewhere. I'll get Rod from EV Solar to come up next and give us his presentation. A round of applause, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Clint, for inviting me this evening. I'll just, oh, okay, I'll have to double click on it, do I?
Sorry, I thought we ripped that one over with no not. Apologies. That's my USB. It's my fault. I can do it as well. Early enough. Did you get to? Last one, the skateboard goes up there. Like in this one, Adrian? Sorry about that, Rod. Not exactly a great way to start a presentation.
These things happen.
They do.
Oh, this one. This one. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So look, I'm just going to try and keep to the format laid out by Clint, and I'm going to put my little timer on so I don't go over time. That might be a little bit annoying for everyone. So just quickly a little bit about myself. I've suppose been around in industry, being and doing clean, green, humanitarian things, and as you notice there, I've put socialist in a smaller font there because I'm a little bit that way. And basically, what I've been doing for my entire career is essentially helping industrial organisations, do things better, reformulating their processes, and that's basically led to me, helping people produce the products that they produce in a more energy efficient way, in a cleaner, greener way. And that way of looking at the world has kept me on this course of developing new things. And I found myself over the years developing new IP. And more recently, it's been a little bit more focused, developing new IP around clean energy. I was involved with, when carbon capture and sequestration was a sexy thing to do. I was leading the development in that space. That led to, development of what actually required new types of energy generation systems that led to things like flash gasification at ambient pressures and developing new generating hardware and all that sort of stuff. A lot of these things are very much at the extreme leading edge, and it allowed me to work with some really, really smart people and do lots of in-depth multi-physics analysis of all sorts of stuff. And we were, pushing the envelope with respect to computational analysis and modeling and all that sort of stuff. And I've progressively, to also, as part of my, I suppose, my personal journey, always wanting to, contribute to the greater good of humanity. I find myself working a lot more in the area of food production and water treatment and provision of water systems, and progressively I've found myself involved in the transportation, doing transportation solutions. That basically came out of developing new IP for power generation. We discovered that yes, we can do power generation much more cleaner, but when you look at what contributes to global warming, power generation is only half of the equation. The other half of the equation really is transportation. It contributes significantly to climate change, global warming, and just pollution in general. That's something that I'm passionate about. And so in the last 5 years, in fact, I've been focusing more and more on developing new solutions for cleaner, greener transportation, which has basically led me to earlier this year start this new venture, which is essentially a subsidiary spin-out of the primary business, which is called Praesignus Proprietary Limited. And Praesignus is essentially a company that develops these sorts of technologies. And we naturally, because we're doing a lot of development work, we look for opportunities to generate revenue. This basically gave birth to solar EV. We basically saw that we needed to have some stepping stones laid down, and we should contribute towards laying down those stepping stones because of the technologies that we are in the process of developing and will commercialize in the next 5 to 10 years. So because if you don't stay with the pack, you basically lose ground. So what we've done is we've set up Solar EV as an entity that is basically going to be a transition leader, and by that I mean a organization that is going to assist in the transition into this new era of electric vehicles. But we also want to do it differently. We want to do it, cleaner and greener. That's just, that's why I said those things about myself before. That's how I like to do things. And so we didn't really want to just produce EVs that was essentially then going, be like lots of the others that just plugs into the grid. What we wanted to do is we wanted to see whether we could actually do EVs in a way that you could actually integrate with solar charging stations. Use the sun as the primary provider of that energy rather than the grid, which is back to conventional power. So we went through an exercise of investigating, analyzing the market, which is the right space to moving, where do we start, which is the biggest market opportunities, and all those sorts of things. And that went quick. That basically led to us deciding that we have the Teslas of the world, and now you can see that Audi and BMW and all the big leading car manufacturers are all racing towards delivering EVs, and it's all going to basically be to satisfy the needs of the people who have really, really deep pockets. And we thought, well, that's not all that fair, especially when we discovered that people who need transportation and need transportation cheaply, looks like they're not going to be addressed. So we developed this business model whereby we satisfied the requirements of a significant part of our community. And that is essentially our stepping stone, our first, introduction, our first solution that we're going to be rolling out. And in simple terms, basically what it is, it's essentially the delivery of a service whereby we provide electric vehicles, and initially we're starting out by providing electric bikes, and I'm doing that in conjunction with Brad Smith, and some of you guys know that guy already. He's into the bike manufacturing business, and I've persuaded him to do an electric bike. And so the business basically provides on a leasing basis electric bikes to people who are spending a lot of money on transportation anyway, and those are the people that basically and don't have really deep pockets. So our focus there is to provide this service to university students, and these are the people too that are our buyers of electric vehicles in the future. So we see that as our contribution that we're making is to assist the transition, and work with the people that have the right mindset around all these things. Eventually, our technology and our solutions will be, rolled out to, to cater for all sorts of transport. But our starting point is essentially electric bikes, because we can do it at the right price point. And I'll just quickly go through that. So our starting point is essentially a business whereby we lease electric vehicles, and although I mentioned students, we've got a lot of interest from people outside the student community, private industry, government departments, all that sort of stuff are wanting to do, adapt or take on our model or have us work with them with that model to provide other types of vehicles as well, other than just electric bikes. So in our first iteration, starting point, student e-bikes. What we're offering is a lease of a bike that is a road legal vehicle, complete with registration, insurance. It includes maintenance, repairs, roadside assistance. This is the important aspect of our business, is we provide free 24-hour access to our solar charging station network. And so students can basically come along, recharge their vehicle when the sun is shining. They don't have to take their vehicle home at night and plug it into the wall, which is a bit like the Tesla model, I suppose. And as we know, they are evolving and looking at doing solar as well. So we had to also, develop the solution that was going to be at the right price point. So we've basically worked it out that we can do it for $7.25 a day. So basically the business model is that we are a build, own, operate, and expand business with an exit strategy, because we have other technologies that we will eventually be bringing in. We enter into, joint venture agreements with electric or vehicle manufacturers. Those aren't all companies that are focusing on electric vehicles. These are also traditional vehicle manufacturers as well. Okay, so I think I've probably, I have definitely said I've gone over my time, but these are just, an illustration of essentially how we basically make the money. Starting essentially, simplistically small, and with a clear, definitive rollout program. We've done our modeling, and it basically says that, and this is the important thing, there had to be a good return on investment. I've been playing in developing and commercializing new technologies, and a lot of these things don't get up because the numbers basically don't stack up, or you don't have a system of implementing your technology or your process to actually deliver you a return in the future and over the long term. So I just want to quickly, I'll take up somebody else's time. Clint asked me to address some of the impediments that I've experienced, observed in this particular space, and really the only two that is problematic is people's fears and their egos, and we know the solutions for these sorts of things. When you have a fear, we can address that essentially by educating people appropriately. We've been around long enough to know how to do that extremely well. And of course, the other thing that impedes us from making progress is people's egos. We deal with people across a whole heap of large gamut of enterprises, bureaucrats and politicians, all that sort of stuff, and you tend to bump into these sorts of things all the time. And the way we basically deal with that, we simply just avoid them at all costs, because the resource pool for all the things we require, whether it's hardware or whether it's capital, money, it's a very vast pool that we can basically draw from. So thank you very much, and that's it for me.
Thanks, Rod. Next up was Ali of was it Flash Rescue? Yeah, Flash Rescue. When you do lift those up, the camera's there. The camera can see as well. Anyway, round of applause for Ali. Thanks.
Do you have any PDF reader? It's opening Chrome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali. I'm an industrial designer. This is an idea that I worked through my final semester at university, and it's more of a concept. And I asked Clinton, for me, this is a really good opportunity just to share the idea and see what everyone's feedback on it. The issue that I was focusing on was basically about emergency vehicles, and especially fire brigades, and the amount of responses that they have whilst taking a huge amount of water. And there are a lot of calls that they receive which they do not need to carry that massive truck with that much water. And some cases such as animal rescues or small bin fires and sometimes car accidents. And these scenarios sometimes cost up to $3,000 to $4,000 without being a serious scenario. Then I focused more on bin fires and car accidents. I did some research on the cost of bin fires, which is extremely high, around $900,000 a year only in Melbourne. And in the CBD area, there are 76 bin fires happened only in 1 year. And all of them attend around the cost is around $3,000 each time. Also, the car accidents, it's around 5,500 per year, and fire brigade does need to attend when there is someone trapped in the vehicle, or if there is any car explosion might happening. So my solution was Flash Rescue. Oh, sorry. Yep. It's basically an emergency vehicle, and a small size emergency vehicle based on Segway platform, designed to respond to small fires and car accidents rapidly, and mostly in CBD areas. The size of the vehicle has been really tried to minimize because it avoids traffic jams, and sometimes when it's needed to be taken to the footpath, people can take it there.
And also, the design is able to carry 2 firemen as well as 2 fire extinguishers. It does also have a first aid kit for just some minor issues to be resolved. And the other advantages of this design, in my perspective, is efficiency and minimizing CO2 emissions, as well as the running cost in compared to now the current extra large fire brigades. This is a general overall size of the platform. It's around 1.5 meter, and when the extension, which the extension is basically designed to carry tools for car accidents. Sometimes they need to carry hydraulic shears and etc. So the extension, with the extension, is going to be around 2.5 meters. I was really interested in EV technology. I worked with the solar team for a little while in the interior design team, and it really attracted me to work on this area. And basically because there is no direct pollution, the energy is cheaper, it's not as complex as mechanical cars as well. And for instance, there is no oil needed for it, and less energy is wasted, and pretty much no energy is wasted when the vehicle is not running. Also, I found out that mixing the technology with Segway technology can be a really good idea to improve some aspects of EV. The potential buyers of this product is mainly the CBD fire services. I've had a look at the number of fire services in different cities across Australia. Out of 47 Metropolitan Fire Brigade stations in Melbourne, 4 of them are located in CBD, and there are as well 4 fire stations in Sydney CBD and 2 in Brisbane. And each fire service can buy around between 3 to 5 units of this vehicle. Also, the design is compatible with other scenarios, such as it can be used in sport complexes, and as well as residential and business buildings. The size allows the vehicle to get into the goods lift and just go and rescue or extinguish the fire. And also in shopping centers, there are lots of minor fires happens in shopping centers, and flash rescue can be a good idea to attend quickly and respond rapidly to them. As it's in its conceptual stage, basically we need a team of the engineers to work on and develop the idea, as well as some aspects such as the energy storage unit, which can be a combination of solar powers and battery packs, and also the control unit, which I mentioned before, is a mixture of Segway technology and EV technology. The marketing, it does have the potential of growing internationally and also in Australia. We also need to do some safety tests, and as well as considering the manufacturing cost and facilities. There are some more information on my website, and thanks for all the attention. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. Now, is it Baja Board or Baja Board? Yeah, all right. Fine, you were right. All right. So you want to stand up here, do you? Fine. So it's Baja Board. Anyway, George from Baja Board now. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. How do I get out of this? Can I close this down? How do I get back to thing? Oh, hold on, that's not right. Hello, everyone. I'm George from Baja Board. I'm one of the co-founders, and my other 2 teammates are behind, right at the back, because they're naughty. Now, Baja Board is a electric skateboard, but that's really not saying too much about it. We've actually got 2 of the boards right there. The one with the orange spring is going to Sweden tomorrow, so try not to scratch it. As opposed to me talking about it, I thought I will show you a video of what the actual board is so that it can do the board a bit more justice than what I can say. There's no sound to it anyway. There's sound. Oh. That is not mine. So yeah, so that's the Baja board, and the Baja board is, in a sense, it's an electric skateboard, but it's an electric skateboard in this format, a fundamental design of a car. So full suspension, independent steering, and four-wheel drive, including electronic differential. Headlights, taillights, optional. Now, this is a traditional electric skateboard, so your typical single-axle trucks you see on normal skateboards. To go off-road, they put some big wheels onto it, one motor at the back. The issue is not a lot of power, can't really handle the off-road in the same sense. You can drive your Toyota Prius onto a gravel car park, but you can't really go driving off-road with it. Our value proposition. So why would people want to buy ours? Well, because of the suspension system, it has much better riding dynamics. It's got a lot more power. It's more robust. All right, stronger there, but should be more robust. It takes a lot more punishment. And given the slightly higher ride height and the shock absorption, it takes the off-road terrain a lot better. And that's actually not just from me, but from some of our customers. He's one of our early adopters who's from WA looking to start a Baja Board club there. And he provides us with feedback on his board, which we delivered about a month and a half ago. Now, this year we've sold 50 beta boards, and the point of the beta boards was to get our hands dirty, find out how long it takes to produce per day, the cost involved, and most importantly, the customer feedback. We're all about talking to the customer, private customers and dealers, and getting their feedback so that we can improve the product and tailor it to what they want. We have, at the moment, 1,750 pre-order mailing list subscribers, and it's increasing by 4. That should really be 5 a day with no paid marketing. This is all word of mouth. And we're talking to, at the moment, Finland distributors and some guy in the Netherlands about getting some boards made for them after mid next year. This is one of our other customers who provides us with feedback. He's very happy about the board. And this is part of the traction we're talking about, not just with individuals, but we're also in contact with some pretty well-known people that's offering us opportunities. So, for example, we're in contact with Mark Preston from the Formula E Super Guru team, who's giving us a few tips on how we're going to run it, as well as offering some cross-promotional opportunities down the track. This is one of the Kelly brothers. Now, I might get exiled here for talking about V8s, but we reached out to him as a potential investor a while ago for a bit further down the track, not necessarily at the moment. And he's very interested. At the moment, Bathurst is almost on, so not a very good time. So we said, look, we'll give you a month and we'll come back to it after that. Our target audience. Now, we don't actually target skateboarders for the simple reason that the price point of the Baja Board is between $3,000 to $4,000. And so we don't expect someone going to a shop looking to spend $100 on a skateboard to suddenly fork out $3,000. So we're looking at middle-aged men, and it is men. About 99% of our followers on Facebook is male, who participate in snowboarding, mountain biking, motocross, and surfing. So someone who is willing and open to spending a few $1,000s for a weekend away and has that sort of budget. Now, the market size, it's nice to think about the 1.9 billion, but we're really looking at what we can actually achieve in the short term. And that's based on our pre-order list of people that's interested in purchasing when it's ready, as well as the contacts we have with distributors. And we estimate that within the next 2 years, we can reach about $80 million worth of revenue if we got the funding to go ahead. Now, we have 4 revenue streams, 3 from a month ago, but we developed the last one very recently. So obviously, board sales is number 1. We got those price points from we know how much it costs to produce the board, but we've also been going around to different shops in Melbourne, talking to the retailers and saying, look, what do you think the customers are willing to pay for it? And the answer is usually about the $3,000 mark. And the idea isn't to sell it for 3 or 3.8, is to give them a base model at about 3 and then let the customer option it up. Like on Tesla's website, if you go there, it's $100,000. You spend a few minutes on it, suddenly it's $200,000. So we want to give them that option. Part sales, we've already started to sell parts. People that's got the board already, tires wear out in about a month and a half, so we've been selling tires pretty consistently. And no one has crashed it yet, so no one has bought any of the other parts yet, but tires and drive belts are the 2 consumables that's ongoing. Merchandise, something we'll look at in the future, protective equipment. And we're also thinking about, people talk about data and how can you engage the customer continuously. And so we thought, look, people are going to need consumables. So why not give them a maintenance subscription process so they don't have to pay any big spend on a part if they do break it. Pay us $60 a month. Every month we'll give you some tires. You don't have to think about it. You have new tires every month to ride. Once a year, we'll replace the batteries for you. It takes about a year to run out. And you get the firmware updates and all the support we give you, as well as a phone app that lets you track the stats and compete with other riders on lap times or tracks and top speeds and G-forces and whatever. Because every one of our customers at the moment has come back to us and said, look, I use Runkeeper or Diablo tracking app, and I got 47 k's an hour out of this morning. So people like that. Our team, the core team is myself, James Murphy, who's in the back, and Alessandro. They will introduce themselves later on. We all come from a professional engineering background. Alessandro and James more technical. I came from a consulting business development background, so I look after the overall business. James and Alessandro looks after the tech side. We have a production partner in MTM who is down in Oakley South. They make Tom cars, which is, they argue, a bigger version of the Baja Board. They can say that. We are part of a mentoring program within the Australian Sports Technology Network, who's offering us quite an extensive introduction to distribution contacts around the globe. And through them, we've got legal guys and accounting guys working with us. And we do have product liability insurance, if anyone's wondering. Now, I'll have to ask for some money. So in the immediate short term, we're talking the next month, we're looking for $30,000 to do a company restructure, get the distribution agreements ready so we can actually go and talk to these Netherlands and Finland guys properly without saying, oh, we'll come back in a month and give you some documents. Get some demo boards going. People are asking for it. The distributor's saying, can you send me a board so that I can test it out and I can place an order to you after that. And for our round 1, we're looking for about $300,000, but there is a catch. We're only looking for that provided we can also get match funding from the Accelerating Commercialization Program. So we're going to put our balls on the line and say, look, We need 500,000. If we can't get the due diligence done on the government, we're not going to take your money. If that passes and we get the match funding, 300K. So in total, 500K. We're about 6 to 9 months away from market. We've got a product that works. We've got the customer feedback. We know people want it. We know there's interest. We know the price point. We know what we can achieve in terms of production cost. And we know the margins and so forth. And so really it's a matter of going through the mass production engineering, which is the longest lead item. That's going to take about 6 months, and that's what dictates the whole program. We'll start marketing. I mean, at the moment, all the retail market is dependent on the fact that we do no marketing. We just keep going as we're going and adding 4 people to the list a day. But if we do marketing, we can, we can double, triple that quite easily. Convert those 2,000 people on the list, 3,000 people by the time we're ready to sell. Get the partnerships going with distribution, get the certification tooling, manufacture, ship out, and so forth. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Chairs over there. Did you want to change the angle of the camera or anything? You can sit at the front. I'll get another chair. Okay. Any questions? Yep. Just a sec.
For George, do you know what happens when the controller loses connection?
Just that 10-second thinking period. Yes, the ball shuts off automatically. It goes into braking mode or stop.
Any other questions?
Yeah, to Barry and the Solar X, or sorry, EVX now. Can you tell us a little bit more about, without giving away your IP, about the upright motor scenario? So I understand before you were looking at hub motors, and now you've got this new fandangled way of powering the wheels. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So we have our chief technology officer here, luckily. So there's only a certain amount we can actually reveal on that, but from some of our analysis, we've actually realized that the hub motor on the Solar Racer does not suit road-going usable vehicles. Clint, did you want to comment on that?
Essentially, when you're looking at hub motors, you want me to stand here, I guess. Can you actually see me? No. All right. So people in internet land can just listen. The way the hub motors are set up is that they don't have the right torque curve for the kind of applications you want on the road when they're actually in the motor. So by integrating with the hub, we can put in a gearbox, we can use different motors and things like that, and actually have a ratio that makes them operate more efficiently when you're stopping and starting and things like that. Solar cars get up to speed and they pretty much stay there. So that was the reason why we're looking at integrating it to the suspension system, so that we can have a reduction in there as well, essentially.
Right, so to improve the torque.
To match the motor more effectively to the job that needs to be done. Yeah. Any other questions?
The skateboard, does this mean we're going to see kids hooning around all over the place, or are you going to sort of recommend where they're going to use these boastfully?
Yes. Number one, it can be used on private property. It's not a street vehicle, so don't ride on the roads. We do tell people that. We've actually been contacting all the local councils about whether or not we can ride in the parks, and we find it is a council by council issue. So some councils say, look, as long as you don't be a nuisance, wear your helmet and stay under the speed limit. Yes, you can. Melton Council, for example, they say you can ride in our parks. Closer to the city, people tend to say no. Just to give an example, Glen Ira Council said no, no way, Jose. So So you've got to contact your local council and find out exactly where you can ride it, or you can just hop one neighborhood over and go there. Yeah, and farms and anywhere else. That's why it's off-road, because technically no electric skateboard is road legal. And so we have the fallback and say, look, take it to the farm. Don't ride on the road, right?
Any other questions? Yep.
Sorry, for solar EV, I checked out the numbers for the day by day. It's $725 a day, but if you do it day by day for a month, it's $215. Was it $221 a month if you're doing it a month?
The billing is basically, oh, sorry. The billing is on a monthly cycle. Yeah. So, there's different number of days in each month. So, yeah.
Anybody else? Yep.
My question was for Baja Board. On those, I was wondering about your association with Tomcar and how that came about, and how does the tooling and that work with there? How is that association working with your manufacturing?
So the association with MTM, not necessarily Tomcar. Tomcar, we are talking about doing some cross promotions next year. But with MTM, we just went to meetups, meetup.com, find the meetups when their CEO or one of the directors was talking. We dragged the board there, I think, and it was a 3K walk. At the time, the board wasn't working. And we stayed there all the way till 12 o'clock at night, and we talked to them, and they'd introduced us to MTM. And that's how we came about with MTM. In terms of manufacturing, we're at the moment making the board ourselves, and they're overlooking how we make it and giving us, taking that into their assembly procedures. We're going to go through a redesign phase with their input, because in the end, if they're going to make it, they should have a say in how they want to make it and what's the quickest way. That's part of that mass production engineering process we showed up before. And ultimately, we want to hand over we might supervise them for a few months, but we want them to be making it. We buy X numbers off them every month, on-sell it, and then we can go away and think about aftermarket parts and new product development and the whole shebang. We don't want to be sitting there getting hands dirty. 50, 100 is enough. Right?
Any other questions? Yep, just a sec.
I'm into the little red fire engine. I notice with every major fire, there's a big red truck out the front, so I think there's an association there. But one of the points you made was that you could take this device up in the lift, which are out of bounds during a fire. So I think that's not a practical solution.
So,
Yeah, I mentioned that those ones, they can be also other potential buyers of the product. But I've worked in the security industry for a while, and the good lift is usually separated to other residential lifts, and we do sometimes use it to go upstairs without having an issue with that. Yeah.
For the lifts anyway. Generally, firemen have override keys for lifts anyway.
any other questions? Can we just pass that one up?
Yes, to the fire engine. Have you spoken at all to Segway? Because it seems to me it's pretty much like a Segway with like an enhanced shell on it. Maybe it needs a little bit more power. And also, what sort of weight and payload would your device have? What sort of parameters, like run time and payload, those sort of issues?
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. These are the challenges that I'm facing because I'm just a designer at the moment. But yeah, basically Segway technology is a balancing system and can be adopted with batteries at the same time. So the Segway platform is just mostly for balancing up the individual vehicle by itself. And definitely all those power and torques that it needs to be made. And it does need further information and more engineer side of it. Yeah.
It's about time, Paul, do you think, to wrap up and head upstairs? And yeah, so what we'll do now is, if you've got another question, we're all about to head up to level 6 to the tea room. I'll go unlock it. There'll be biscuits, coffee, things like that, and also a chance to just speak to everybody one-on-one up there. Just before we do that, though, a round of applause for everybody who presented. Thanks.